Oh, welcome everyone. Just getting some things set up. I see everyone's coming in. This is great. Feel free to drop me a line in the chat. Love to hear how you're doing. Hopefully, you all have been enjoying webinar week so far. We had two great speakers on Monday and Tuesday, and then a short break Wednesday, and now we're back for two more sessions on today and tomorrow. So I'm really excited to go over today's session. In case you hadn't noticed, we kind of had a lot of theme with a lot of with characters this month or this week, I guess you could say. I think it's going really well. I really enjoyed what I've learned so far. So I'm excited to share more with you guys today. Oh, previous ones were great. So glad to hear that, Ed. I'm glad you liked them. Dave from Scotland, enjoying a lot. Two great webinars. Perfect. Greetings. Oh, it's good to see y'all where y'all are from. Seeing some familiar names here. And that's great. Island, it's been a great week. Loving the webinar so far. Oh, glad to hear it. Awesome. Feel free to shout out your favorite tidbits of information. Is there any particular insight that just really like stuck out to you? Like, oh, aha moments. Yeah. Feel free to share those. I'd love to hear that. Hello again, Nick from London. Chris, good to see you again too from Scotland. Always happy to see you. Oh, this is great. And we got everybody coming in. We have over 600 people registered today, so we want to give everyone plenty of time in case they forgot. Good news is we are recording. In case you didn't notice, I did get those. What do you call it? Those replays up on YouTube, and we'll get them all in the webinar library next week. So watch out for that. You can check that out at my YouTube channel. I'll drop that in there for you guys real quick so you have it. It has been a crazy busy week. I've been trying to get all this stuff up for you guys, but bear with me as I work through this, get everything done. Love John's talk about Panzer pre-work. Okay, good. Uh, Hello, Julie. Welcome. Oh, well, this is great. I'm seeing people from all over the place. Trying to scroll through here. This is wonderful. Okay. Well, while we're gonna give it everyone just a couple more minutes to get in before we get started here. I'm gonna go ahead and let's see if I can find my bobber here, my notes. There we go. I'm gonna ask a question like we always do. Kick it off our topic today. So, what kind of problems do you run into when you're creating characters? I'd love to hear that. Whether that's in Scrivener or just general like problems with characters, I'd love to hear what are the challenges you're running into. Oh, and welcome, Rhonda from New Zealand. I know it's pretty early there, so thank you. Glad you could make it. Okay, too flat, too similar. Naming's a big one for me too. But names kill me. I agree. I can spend hours trying to find the perfect name that I just feel like fits that character. And we'll talk a little bit about that. To some degree, names are hard. You're gonna have to work on that. We all have to work on that. But there are things we can do in the beginning to kind of take some of that pressure off us so we can actually get some writing done, right? Connecting character to motive. Okay. Making them not sound the same as each other. Ooh, voice, Julie. That's so true. I struggle with voice myself. Yeah. A lot of my characters, especially if they work together with a lot, I have a hard time. Like, it almost feels like you get into one person's head, you get in the other person's head, and it's the same person. Because to me, it is. How do you find that unique voice? Making them complex, balancing good versus bad. Well, this is great. There's a lot of good things here and things we can look at this even gives me some ideas for future events and stuff that I can dig deeper on, giving them true depth. So interesting. Making it reasonably easy to distinguish them from each other. Problems with sub characters, they seem insipid and boring. You ever had the problem where maybe one of your side characters is actually more interesting than your main character? I had a character like that in one of my books where uh, th- I loved this side character, but he kept overshadowing the main character, and so you have to wonder yourself: should you switch gears? How do you fix that? There's a lot of things that go on, like dialogue, especially in two languages, is great. Meg, thank you for sharing. Okay, so lots and lots of problems. This is great. I love this. Thank you so much for sharing this with me because we all experience problems. We all have challenges, and you know we're going to talk about some of the things we can do, some elements that can make every character great. And we're going to talk about how we can apply and create a good, diverse cast of characters in Scrivener today. And I see someone's asking what webinar is being offered tomorrow. Tomorrow we're talking about templates. So we'll get links to that here, probably here closer to the end there, Marianne. I'll answer that right now. But if you're wondering, we do have one more webinar tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about project and document templates. So we're going to cover a tiny bit of that today, but we're going to go really deep into it tomorrow. Okay, well, I think we're 5 minutes after the other hour. We're good to go ahead and get started here. Okay, so let's do this. Let me pull this over here, and we'll get started. So, first off, I just want to welcome you, my fellow writers, to our August Scrivener webinar series brought to you by the creative minds behind Scrivener and Scapple, Literature and Latte. I'm Oliver Evensen, your host today, bringing you insights drawn from over 15 years of writing and Scrivener expertise. This out of the way there. Now, whether you're a seasoned author or you're just starting your writing adventure, our webinars are designed with your needs in mind. And today we're going to be exploring breathing life into your characters, how Scrivener's tools empower you to craft captivating characters. Now, I want you to remember we do have a member of our dedicated technical support team standing by, ready to tackle any technical issues you may run into and to answer your questions throughout the session. I have Ruth here today. You may have already seen her dropping some information in there for you. She's moderating today, and so if you encounter any questions, please, please, please reach out to her in the Q&A. That way she can see those questions really quickly and get them answered right away. Okay, so look at those. She will be keeping an eye on the chat as well, though. But please, please, please put those in the Q&A for her. Make your job so much easier. Now, for those of you who wish to revisit today's session or share it with your fellow writers, this webinar will be recorded, and you can find the replay on my YouTube channel tomorrow and enjoy it ad-free next week in the Literature and Latte webinar library. Links will be provided shortly, so stay tuned for that. Okay. Now, if we have anyone new here who doesn't know who I am, my name is Oliver Evensen. I'm a writer, editor, and mentor with 15 years of Scrivener and writing expertise, and I'm so excited to teach you what I have learned in my position as the outreach specialist for Literature Latte. Now, I love connecting with other like-minded writers. If you'd like to connect with me, please send me an email, or better yet, you can join one of my email lists. I frequently send out valuable tips and techniques to help you become a better writer. And all subscribers will receive a free copy of my starter novel template. And if you'd like to see what books I'm working on and writing in Scrivener, you can subscribe to my author website, oliverevensen.substack.com, or use that QR code right there on the screen. Okay. Well, now that we're better acquainted, let's spend a few minutes outlining the schedule for today's session. We'll begin by diving straight into the training, exploring what it takes to craft a truly compelling character. And from there, we'll seamlessly transition into how you can start building your cast of characters directly within your Scrivener project. Now, to wrap it all up, I'll provide you all with a bunch of great free resources you can utilize to deepen your understanding of Scrivener and improve your writing skills. I'll also leave ample time for a Q&A at the end, where I'll do my best to answer as many of your questions as possible. So let's begin. Okay, so right away, let's talk about what makes your characters compelling. Now, most great characters, I say most because there's always an exception to the rule, right, are built on three key elements. We have a problem, a want, and a need. Okay. Now, a problem could also be called a flaw. So first off, let's start with the problem. These are flaws that make your character relatable, and they also create conflict. A flawed character is an interesting character, right? So you can think of things like maybe impulsiveness, stubborn, or even arrogant. There's so many layers of imperfection you can add. And the more opportunities and the more you do that, the more layers you can add, the more opportunities your character has for growth. And that's what we really like. We really like to see a character who has a problem slowly over time. We like to see that character grow and overcome that problem, right? Now, I do want to add a little word of caution here specifically for your heroes or your protagonists. Too many flaws can have the exact opposite effect. It can actually make our character really unlikable. Now, if that's your goal, then by all means, you can go ahead and do that. But if you want to keep your characters relatable and engaging, particularly your hero, right? It's ideal to balance their imperfections with some redeeming qualities, right? So traits that make the reader want to root for them. Now, that could be empathy, courage, resilience. I'm thinking like, I think of someone like an outlaw or something. We remember talking about archetypes, someone who's, maybe a thief or something. They could be courageous and kind of empathetic, like a Robin Hood type character where they steal from the rich and give to the poor. He's an outlaw he's breaking the law, he's doing bad things, but it also makes us care for him because he's doing good when he's breaking the law. He's helping people, right? So that's just a really quick, easy example. Now, these draw us in to their journey and really give us a reason to care. And these are often qualities that shine through that pivotal save the cat moment, right? We've heard that a lot, where they actually do something that reveals the character's underlying humanity. And that action, that moment, that save the cat moment, really is what makes that story worth following. We see that, hey, this guy is redeemable, or this character is redeemable, right? We want to see them succeed. Then, of course, there is the want, right? So, the ultimate goal your character is chasing. It could be something tangible like money, or something intangible like revenge or love. It's the driver or the motive behind their actions. Now, here's the catch though, it's not actually what they need. Even if the character gets what they quote unquote want, right? They should realize that it really doesn't fulfill them or solve their true need, which takes us to our last element, which the need or the emotional truth. This is your protagonist's deeper journey, the lesson they must learn in order to grow and overcome their flaw or flaws, as the case may be. Now, maybe they need to accept themselves. Maybe they need to learn empathy or forgive or whatever it is the lesson to learn based on that flaw. It's basically that shard of glass. If you recall from Jessica Brody's book on what do you call it? Save the Cat Writes a Novel, right? It's that shard of glass that's underneath them that they have to remove it to find fulfillment. They really can't be whole until that shard of glass is gone. Now, keep in mind, not every character needs to be fully developed. I think this is where I, in particular, have gotten in trouble with this, like trying to flesh out every character and trying to make them all really developed and round and beautiful. For key characters like your protagonist, your hero, maybe even some of your antagonists or villains, or as the case may be, you want to have fleshed, round characters, right? You want to focus on their problem, their want, and their need. But for minor characters and maybe even some of those supporting characters, you want to scale back a bit. Maybe give them a clear flaw and a clear want or motivation to keep them grounded without actually overcomplicating your story. Not every character needs or even can learn their lesson in your book, right? Even for minor characters, a flaw and just a strong flaw and a strong want can do a lot to make them real, and even help you, the writer, know how they should act authentically in your story. I think that's a big deal. Just knowing like what they want and maybe a core flaw that they have can really show you like what would this character do? What would this minor character do? Now, of course, if you want to go deeper beyond the minor characters, there are people shuffling around the background that don't really get developed at all. They just exist to fill the story. They're almost like setting and world building. But the final note here is that as you craft your characters, keep this dynamic in mind. The problem creates hurdles or challenges for your hero. The want, that motivation drives the action, and then the need delivers that emotional payoff that we all are eager to see. So each element adds depth and keeps your audience or your reader invested in your story. Now, the real challenge, I mean, if you knew all that, that's pretty easy to say, right? But how do we actually transform all this wonderful, great information into vivid, compelling characters, specifically within Scrivener? Now, I don't have all the answers, but we're going to look at how we can. We're going to take a look at that now and see how we can start building a solid cast of characters in Scrivener. Okay. But before we do, one more thing I want to say. Another word of caution. Please, please, please do not get bogged down in chasing perfection. All those details, you don't need to know everything to write a good book, okay? You want to just start simple. Start building your cast, which whoever character is most interesting to you. Get those essentials in place and then let Scrivener help you organize and refine your characters as your story unfolds. So I'm talking, especially for you pantsers. Pantsers are probably really familiar with this. You often will just write a whole, what do you call it, a whole draft without even really so much as doing any outlining whatsoever, which is totally great. And then you go through that, you can start picking apart, and you can actually use Scrivener to pick out characters, right, and start building character sketches. Or some of you may be more plotters, where you want to go and you get some of those key details down. Um, the big pitfall is here, don't try to get it all done, right? If you recall from Doug's presentation earlier, he even kind of frowned upon character sketches and character sheets simply because he felt like some of that information just isn't relevant to the story. And so I think for the basics, right, having that problem down, having that need down, having that want down, that is often more than enough. Okay. Well, let's talk about how do we get our cast down fast in Scrivener. And so I'm going to go through, I have 5 main points I want to look at, 5 tools, so to speak, that we can look at in Scrivener. I'm going to go through each one, and then we're going to jump into Scrivener and see it in action. So creating a cast of compelling characters is the heart of any great story, right? But managing your cast can quickly become overwhelming. I'm sure we've all felt that, where it's just like, oh, how do I keep track of all these characters? Well, the good news is Scrivener has tons of powerful tools at your fingertips to help you streamline this process and really bring your characters to life. Now, personally, I like to start out with the name generator and quickly build a list of names that inspire me, or at the very least, I can, a list of names I can just use, right? I can use and add and take without having to put any placeholders in. So once again, don't overthink this. Just generate the possibilities. Maybe find a key name for your main character and your supporting cast, and then just have a list of names there so you can just draw from it whenever you need to. Let the best ideas bubble up as you go. I much prefer a real name over a placeholder. So since you can always do a find and replace later, there's also the little replacements tool in the compiler. If any of you are familiar with that, there's a lot of cool ways we can quickly make those changes as needed. Now, and once again, remember, the goal is progress, not perfection. You can always revise these names and roles later. Next up, we're going to talk about organizing your cast, specifically in the binder. With all the names out of the way, you can start organizing your characters folder. Now, there's no one right way to do this, okay? You can do it however it makes sense to you, but just a simple structure like creating a folder for your protagonists or your viewpoint characters, your antagonists, right? And supporting cast characters right in the binder is a great place to start, right? Start. So the key is to have a home where your character information can be easily stored and easily found. Okay, that's key. Too often we just kind of are in a rush, right, to get things done. We don't put things in order, and then what happens, even in our Scrivener project, even though it's all in one place, it can still be a challenge to find some of those things. If we keep a little organization in mind at the very beginning, it just makes it a little bit easier down the road for us. Now, next up, we're going to talk about capturing character essentials with templates and character sketches. Now, Scrivener's, you can use Scrivener's character templates or the existing ones, or you can create your own custom versions like I have and focus on what matters most: each character's problem, want, and need. For protagonists in particular, heroes, right? You're going to want to jot down their want, what's driving them, what's holding them back, their problem or flaw, and what they truly need to grow. For antagonists and supporting characters, it might just be enough to capture the key details or story elements. Just don't feel pressured to fill out every detail. I'll show it to you in just a minute. I have a very detailed template sheet. And to be frank, and I tell people who use it, like, I don't fill everything out. I just, as I'm writing the story often, I'll grab details and I'll stick it in there for reference. And so I treat it more as a reference tool than as an assignment that I have to complete. It's just something I can have to add information when I have it. For some characters, I don't ever fill it out, and some characters I fill it out like crazy. Just depends on the story. And typically between drafts too, I like to go through there and kind of clean it up and look at it and say, hey, how can I improve this and make this better? Especially, this is going to be especially useful if you're writing a series where you need to keep track of all this information and keep that continuity. Okay, number 4, keep development practical. You can organize and link things together. So for viewpoint characters, I like to link character sketches to my chapter and scene templates for quick access. You can also use labels to visually organize your cast by color as your characters grows. It also makes it really easy to track them later on too. And last but not least, tracking your cast in action using metadata and the outliner. So, excuse me. Finally, you can utilize existing and custom metadata fields to create dynamic collections so you can track your character's arcs with the outliner, with the corkboard, or even just with the editor itself. As you can put it all in Scrivening's view and see everything from beginning to end for that character. Okay, so that's it. I got those 5 steps, those 5 tools that we're going to look at. Let's start one by one here. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that. So first off, what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up Scrivener here. And you can see it defaults to my templates that I use. Okay, so the starter novel template, that's the one I recommend. It's free. You can get it from my website, no problem at all. But if you don't have the starter novel template and you don't feel like getting it, that's fine. Just come over here to the novel template. It's pretty similar. It's just I added some customized and templates and some extra. I just kind of organized the binder a little bit and made it a little bit more conducive to how I work. I also set it up so that it has a series instead of just a book. So if you're writing a series, the Star Novel template's a great place to start. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to double click that there. I'm going to give it a name. Okay. So we'll call this, let's see if I can think, I'm going to just call it Project Nightfall. Okay. Now I like doing something like this where I get, you can see I have like project different things here, right? I like giving names like this because it's still specific, but it's not like tying me to a specific final title. You may have noticed I have the Otter and the Amulet. That's not the final title for this book I've been working on. We've since changed it many times. We've gone through many iterations of the name. Just remember, it doesn't have to be perfect here. Just choose a name that you can easily find and save it to a place you can easily find. Like here, I have it in Documents, Scrivener Projects, and I can save it right in there. If you're keeping it in the cloud, I recommend Dropbox. There it goes. And it'll pop up there like so. This is just a little activation guide. It tells you about the template, how it works. If you've read it once or if you don't want to read it, that's fine. Just move it to trash. But you can see to the left here, we kind of have it already set up and ready to go. I have a series title going here, and then inside that I have a book. Inside that I have parts or acts, right? And inside that I have my chapter. And last but not least, I have my scenes stored inside that. So this is kind of the ideal structure. It's not the only structure, but it happens to be a structure that works really well. You could take out any of these levels. You could have the beginning be a book and have no book folder, etc. However you want to set it up is fine. Just use something that makes sense for you. Now we're going to start out first with the name generator. So how do we find that? Really easy to do. We're going to go to Edit, Reference Tools, Name Generator. And a quick word on this, it used to be called Writing Tools. Okay, if you look at up here, that's right here now. This is the Mac OS tools that they added in with the last version of Mac OS. Okay, so we had to ended up having to change that because they called it Writing Tools. So now it's called Reference Tools, and it's right there. You can now go here and click Name Generator. I would still consider these the better writing tools, though. Just saying. Okay, so Name Generator pops up right here. Real quick, I'm going to turn off writing aid there. And this is where we generate our list of names. We can generate anywhere from one name to up to 500 names. Right now I have it set to 50. You can kind of see this little toolbar right here where we can move that up or down. Okay. Okay. And then I can just click this button and generate the names. But let's look a little bit at the rest of the tools and the functionality here. So right here, this is where the names appear. You can see if there was anything there, it has that little cursor change so I could select it if there was any names there. I can go by gender. I can do male, female, or either. I could attempt alliteration. What that means is the first letters are going to try to all be the same. Double barreled means it's going to be like a double barreled last name or surname, right? So it has two names to it with a hyphen between them, right? I'm gonna turn those off. I could force it to have four names using initials only. So like like my name is Oliver James, so it would be OJ and then Evensen instead of Oliver James Evensen, right? I can even choose how many initials we want to show up there. In this case, that would be the two, OJ Evensen, right? I could even force it to have the forename start with a certain letter, right? Or a forename in with a certain letter, right? Same with the surname, okay? Starting with or ending with a certain letter. And so I can kind of set these restrictions how I like it. Now, I'm going to leave that all alone. You can feel free to mess around with that. I personally don't use alliteration that often with character names. So especially since I'm generating a big list of names, I don't want them all to have that alliteration. So maybe you might do a smaller batch if you want to do that attempt alliteration. But I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm actually going to do two lists. I'm going to do a male list. Let's do three: a female list and then either. Kind of cover like both, like unisex kind of names, right? And then right here is the obscurity level, okay? And what this allows us to do is say this is low obscure, this is high obscure. So what it means is low obscurity means that they're kind of more commonly known names, right? That's the idea, commonly known names. Whereas a high obscurity level will mean that they're less commonly known. You're not going to hear those names as much. So kind of mess around with that and kind of see what works and what's good for you. But really, it's going to base it all off of whatever naming lists you have selected here. So I have Catalan, Finnish, just some general forenames for male and female, German, Hindi and Indian, Irish, Italian, there's Japanese, so many. I added in some custom names from Norse mythology there as well. We have popular British, U.S. names, dictionaries, potential dictionaries for names, so lots, even Spanish, lots of different options that are built into Scrivener. Cool thing here too, if you're willing to go the extra mile, maybe you want to add some of your names of your own, you can click this little plus button right here and actually add your own names. Now there is a whole process on how to do that. We don't have time to do it today, but if that's something that interests you, we can definitely you can definitely look into that, and we can look at that. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna uncheck all these and show you what happens if we don't have anything checked at all. It'll give us a little error here, just so you can see if you run into this error. So if I generate this, it's gonna say, oh, no names could be generated, right? Because I didn't have anything selected. Same is true if I had like male names, right? But I only had female names selected. Let's see here. What would happen? It's gonna say, oh, no names could be generated because a male list was not selected there, right? Let's uncheck that there. What we're gonna do, I'm just gonna keep it simple. We're gonna do popular British, uh, names for male and female, surnames, popular London. Let's do US, potential dictionary, and maybe let's add in a couple of. Let's do Japanese. Japanese sounds fun. I don't think I've done much with Japanese or Indian. Let's do that. Okay. So and then from there, I'm gonna generate. Let's do 250 names here. So we've got this all set up here. We're doing male. We're not doing any of these extra settings. We're gonna do. Let's do kind of a middle obscurity level there. And yeah, and we've got that set up. So we're gonna go ahead and generate 250 names. Boom. There we go. If I scroll down here, that's 250 names I can draw from, right? That may even be way too many, but I like to have a lot to pick from. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to copy that right there. Okay, then I'm actually going to come into my research folder. I'm going to go to characters here, and I'm going to create a new document. Give me a second here. Move this out of the way. And we're going to add in a list. Oh, this Zoom thing is in the way. I'm going to add a list here. Oh, I did a character sketch. Let's move that trash. So it will do that. The characters folder is designed so if you hit return, it'll add a character sketch in. Don't want to do that right now. So we're actually going to come up here and go to this button and just click a new text. We just want a basic text document here. I'm just going to call this male names list. The more specific you can be, the better, but that's what we're going to go with. And paste that inside like that. If you're wondering how I pasted it in, I used the keyboard shortcut. If you want to just go to edit, paste right there. You can even do paste and match style if you want it to match style. In this case, it already matched the style, so we're good to go. We got all those names in there. Maybe what I might want to do here too is select these and add them as a bulleted list or something extra there. Now, generally what I'll do here is like if I copy a name, sometimes I'll just cut it out like this. Edit, cut, right? But I find it better if I can actually just go here and use the strike through function. That way I know which names I've used. Boom, like that. And so I can strike through that and kind of move through that and do that like so. Let's see. Okay. So that's one way to kind of just go through your names very quickly. So I'm going to do this 2 more times. Let's go to edit, reference tools, name generator. Not going to spend much time in here this time. 250 names again. Copy. Come here again. Boom. Oh, keep forgetting that. Sometimes it's a nice thing, sometimes it's not. Email names list. Paste. We do the same thing to keep our formatting consistent here. Okay. And you know what? I think every time I do something, I think, oh, let me do this instead. Since I'm doing multiple names lists, I'm actually going to create another folder. I'm just going to call it name lists like this. I'm going to use this little tool to push that up and then select these. I'm holding down the command key or the control key on a PC. I'm going to push that over inside there. Now I can kind of close up those names lists so it's a little bit neater, right? And then we're going to do one. I'm just going to call this, let's look at it again. Unisex names. Sex names. It's not entirely exactly true, but I'm going to go for it and do it like that. Because ideally, this is what I would do. Something like this. I go to File, not File, sorry, Edit, Reference Tools, Name Generator again. And this time I'm going to do either, and we're going to generate those names like that. So because I didn't change the names list, there is some possibility I could have some duplicates here, although not likely. They're probably going to be different enough that you should run into a problem, but just be aware of that. It's possible. It's not totally out of the realm of reason that there couldn't be some names that are the same or similar. Boom. There we go, just like that. And now I have a lot of names, probably even too many. Probably should even do less than that. 250 times three. I have about 750 names, a huge pool of names to draw from. I don't have to think about anything else. Now, of course, this is just one way. There are tons of great other naming things. If these names don't work, like I said, you can add in your own custom list, like I did. Let me just show that real quick. What my custom list kind of looks like. Let's go to what I can edit reference tool here, name generator, right? So I have a few custom names list here from Norse mythology. It was when I was really into Viking shows like this. And we'll keep the Japanese on there, why not? And we'll do a smaller batch. Okay, generate names. Yeah, something like that. Okay, yeah. And so we got some different stuff here like that. I'll do that, and maybe we'll just put this as hero names. Oh, not again. Push that over like so, and then we're going to add this text document heroes, or maybe viewpoints, viewpoint, right? So maybe these are names I specifically want to use for viewpoint characters, right? We'll see. Something to think about. Okay, there you go. You can kind of mess around with that and kind of get what you want. Of course, it depends on the right type of story you're writing. Naming is so tricky, right? Because depending whether you write fantasy or historical nonfiction or nonfiction or whatever, whatever the case may be, you know, I mean, primarily fiction, really, if you're coming up with character names, right? But whatever the case may be, it's gonna be a little challenging. This, like I said, these could just serve as quick placeholders. I much prefer having a real name in there that I can easily change later than having nothing like, like to come or uh, placeholder here, or just kind of gobbledygook names that really just kind of take you out of the story and kind of jar you, right? Okay, so there we go. We've got our names list set up. Let's talk about organizing our cast. Well, since we're in here and we created a bunch of character sketches already, let's go ahead and create another folder here. We're going to call this, I think we're going to let's do protagonists. Maybe actually we could do viewpoints as well. Viewpoint characters, right? That could be any character that is going to have their own viewpoint. If you're writing limited, if you're only writing from one viewpoint, that may not make sense. But if you're like me, where you're writing epic fantasy and you're often writing with multiple viewpoints, it's something that makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, I could have another one called supporting characters. I could have another one called placeholders. These are actually like characters that are like character types, that exist in the story, like a blacksmith or something, maybe certain by vocation, like things that they do, the types of characters you're going to see in your story that kind of effectively are background characters and things like that, right? Let's do supporting characters. However you want to describe it, you may have your own system. You can pull it from another, you can make up something your own. You can pull it from other ideas from other writers and what they're doing. And there's lots of cool things you can do here. The main thing is just have some key places, some key homes where you can keep things. And maybe under here, under viewpoint, I might have protagonist or hero, right? I'll push that into the viewpoint character section. I also might have antagonists. I've always liked the idea of, like, if I know I write a lot of fantasy, so there's a lot of villains, right? I like the idea of my antagonists, my villains being more well rounded. Like they have the potential. Maybe they're more complex. They're not just like, the cackly cardboard cutout villains. They have real depth to them. They're real people. They made bad choices that maybe took them to where they are. They could make good choices that take them out of villainy into good. They're complex. Like they're round, right? They can make choices, and those choices can be good or bad. Supporting characters or minor characters, right? However you want to put that, just fine. And then what I do is going to drag and drop it. Now these all are for my supporting character sheet. It's pretty similar to the one I think that comes stock in Scrivener. In fact, it may be almost even identical. The only difference is the coloring here, I think. And I think I changed like a couple other things. So I'll have to look at that. But there we go. That's there like that. And for my viewpoint characters here, I'd probably go up here. So I have my irresistible hero sketch, and it's very in depth and involved. Let me show you. Okay, pull that in here like so. I'll even just pull that over to my hero here. And so it goes into deep things like physical description, where I can get eye color, hair description, stature and body type, facial features. It goes deep. It even gives you some information here, like as to like some tips and things you might consider. So don't have to put it all. You don't have to consider all this stuff, but I like to have it there because it kind of just gives me a reminder, like, hey, what can I do to kind of make this character a little bit unique and different from the average every hero that we see in literature historically, right? We have voice and personality. How can we consider what unique voice qualities, the character's pitch, accent, or any distinctive speech patterns? Maybe they have a catchphrase. I love the idea of a catchphrase, although it's kind of juvenile to think about. But a catchphrase is always fun. Do they have something? Maybe they just kind of lead out. And then are there words? I remember what Doug was saying, like how in his story, like the Trelane, how his character was very like, he's a military background, so he has, more advanced vocabulary, and he thinks things in a certain view, uses certain words, whereas the kid in the story was using a lot, not nearly as advanced vocabulary. He was thinking about things in a weird way. He had weird, interesting terms of phrases for how he described things versus how an adult might describe things. So you want to consider those things. That's the word cloud is all about. What words do they favor? How do they? What is their unique viewpoint on the world, especially as it gives their age? Like what is their maturity level? What words would they use for those ages? So you can consider quirks. We can talk about flaws, right? That's a big one. What's the key flaws? What's some redeeming qualities they may have? What does their want? What's their immediate desire? What do they want right now? What is their primary want? Long down the road, what do they really, really want, right? And you can kind of just think this out and kind of figure it out for yourself. What's the need? What's the life lesson they need to learn, right? Another one I learned. This one I learned from Brandon Sanders, and he talks about this a lot. Having a what's the deep dark secret? And I think he does that a lot in his books. If you're familiar with any of Sanderson's work, he uses flashbacks quite a bit. It's funny because a lot of people told him, don't use flashbacks. Flashbacks are bad. Even Doug admitted himself that he uses a lot of flashbacks in his work. And a lot of those flashbacks are kind of built on this idea of what's that deep, dark secret that they're holding on to that they don't want to share with the world, that they're harboring or concealing. And those secrets can really play up as to why they're acting the way they want. It can be part of that flaw, right? It can really play into the flaw and why they have that flaw, right? Can give an explanation behind it. And we, the reader, are more than happy to discover what that is and figure out what's going on in our hero's life and how these secrets are affecting them. And I added a little section here about negative arcs. I've always been interested in characters that, generally start out as good. And then, like, what happens if we reverse that, where instead of they're becoming a better and better person, what if they become worse and worse and worse, right? I mean, it kind of becomes like a tragedy, right? And yeah, so use this as you will, right? This is included free with my template, my starter novel template. Um, One thing I want to remind you, you do not have to fill all this out. I just added all the tools in there I could think of, like this might be useful, and I only typically fill out the things that make sense for me, right? So I could come through here. Then what I could do is I could go to my name list, split my editor here. Let's lock this one right here. Okay. I'm gonna click on my viewpoints and let's just grab a name. Rishi Proust. Okay. And I give that the name of the sketch here, like so. And I could even put the name in here like this. We can do edit, paste, and match style. I could just choose an arbitrary age here. We chose it from male, so I guess it was a. Oh no, we chose it from a mix, so it could be male, it could be female. At this point, you have to decide. Could be whatever you want it to be. You can mess around with that, do whatever you want. Then we could dive into description. Like I said, I don't typically just fill this out one by one by one by one. Oftentimes, I might consider like what kind of story do I want to tell? Maybe I already have an idea, and so I already have an idea of what the flaw might be. I already might have an idea of what this character wants. Um, this isn't necessarily the you don't necessarily have to start here, right? Especially if you're a pantser, right? You may not make sense to start here. Maybe you just want to get this set up just like this, right? Let's say it's that she's actually a female, right? Like this. You get set up, just do that, and then actually go and write the book. And then as you're writing about this character, you can then come in and just add things in, right, where it makes sense. Okay. So there we go. That is character sheets and templates and how we might use those or edit those and work with those. Let's look a little bit. Another thing I like to do is kind of organize and link things together. So what we can do here, I do have like a chapter template here for to keep things simple. I'm going to go here and click edit. I'm going to add Rishi as a one of those character labels here. Okay, we're just going to delete the rest of these for now. Okay, just have her that one character. Okay, click OK, and then I could come here to this chapter template. I could apply the label like so, right? And I'm going to come here and also apply the label. See, right click, label, Rishi. So this is every time I create this template, it's going to have that label assigned to it. And one other thing I like to do too is I think I do like to go to view, use label color in icons, and then I can kind of see that right away. That color is there. Let's see here. Looks like label. Yep, I didn't assign it. So now we can see that red color is kind of highlighted there. So if I came up here, I could even rename this and say this is the Rishi chapter template like this, right? And I could come up here, click inside my act here, go add, and there's Rishi's chapter, and boom, right there. That template starts set to go. It already has a label assigned. You can see the color is there. And so then I could have that available. If I want to take this a step further, right, I could even go over to my bookmarks view here, right? I'm actually going to remove that. We don't need that activation guide there. I'm going to open this up. Okay, we're going to select each one of these. And this time I'm going to drag and drop my, let's see here, viewpoint character into the document bookmark. Okay. And what this does is it links this document to this to these scenes. So I know that Rishi's going to be in these scenes because that's the template for her, right? I can add this over in here like so, like this, right? So now we're going to delete this one and remake it. Add it in. Rishi chapter template. So when I come over here, I'm going to close this out. Oops. Click into the Rishi chapter template here, and you can see here, there is Rishi. Looks like I didn't get it added to this one. Let's add that in like so. And if I had added that in correctly, it would automatically populate that for us. But you can see for the scenes, it got those added in. So I can have access to the character sheet whilst I'm working on any scene related to Rishi. And the best part is every time I create a new template or even a scene here, like if I go here and just create a scene, it's still going to have her book, uh, what her character sheet bookmarked there for me to have access to that, quick access to that. So I don't have to go rushing through my research folder here to find it every single time. It's linked right there in the document bookmarks. Okay. There we go. Now you could also switch this over to project bookmarks and you could have access to all your characters here like so. You can see here I have my name list, my viewpoint characters, supporting cast, placeholders, etc. This gives you quick access to these three key folders. You could add in any folder you like. Like for example, I could add in, let's see here. I don't have another good folder. Maybe let's just add front matter so you can see this. You can add this. You can delete that bookmark, not have it there, whatever makes sense. And you can see there's a little arrow there that allows me to move around and navigate here to these different things. Boom, and it pulls it up for me just like that. Okay, so kind of cool. We can have a couple different ways to access. The nice thing about project bookmarks is they're available everywhere in your project, doesn't matter where you're at, whereas a document bookmark is only available on that specific document. And since we assign it to our template, we can easily have that available on every chapter template we recreate or every chapter we create for Rishi. Okay. That's how that works. So there's a lot more we can do with sketches and templates and things like that. I'm going to dig more into that tomorrow in tomorrow's session. So I'm going to hold off on that right now. Let's jump into tracking our cast with character and with metadata and the outliner and things like that. Now it's a little tricky to show this in a brand new project because usually what happens here is you've created your name, you've created your cast, you may have multiple what do you call it, keywords or multiple labels with all your characters in there, and then you can kind of flesh that out and build it out. And what I would do is probably have different templates chapters for each character I have, each viewpoint character that it is, and I would use keywords to keep track of things like minor characters and supporting characters and things like that throughout the course of the story. That's typically how I handle that. So I can keep track of everyone and then see their key arcs. So what I'm going to do right now is instead of doing it directly in here, because it will take me a long time to create each character in a label and then create the collection, I'm going to show you how I've done that in one of my current projects right here and how I'm currently doing that too. Right now, I focus primarily on my viewpoint characters. You can see here if I go to the inspector here, my labels, I have multiple viewpoints label. I have Ned, Revelo, Nira, Ivel, Adeline, Grondel, and Caius. In fact, I need to come in and change these because Ned is now Eridan. We changed his name. Okay. Revelo is now Miro. Nira didn't change. Ivel changed to Idar. Okay. Adeline didn't change. I don't think Ronald changed and Caius remained the same. So we went and made those changes. This is a good example where I took something, we used these names for a very long time over like 3 or 4 drafts now. And we finally said, hey, these names just aren't what we wanted, but they worked for in the beginning. We're going to change them all. Now, I'll admit it's been tricky to remember name changes because you get used to a certain name for a certain character, but I'm slowly transitioning over. I've started reading and thinking in terms of these characters and their new names now, and it's starting to fit into place. But that's one downside, I guess, of waiting so long to get that name just right. Is that after a while you're still calling them by their old name. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm seeing some hands raised. Bear with me. We're almost done here. We'll open up for questions here in just a few minutes, and hopefully we can get to any questions that you guys have. Okay. So right now you can see that's what we've done. We have gone through. I've gone through throughout the entire book, and we've assigned different names and different things here. Okay, like so. So what we'll do is, let me see if I can find this. There's a couple different ways we can look at this. First off, I'm gonna show you real quick. I'm gonna hide my collections so you can, oops, you can see how this is done. So typically, what I do to keep track of characters is I create what I call a dynamic collection. I use a label or a keyword to pick up everywhere that character has been assigned. So for keywords is nice because I can assign as many keywords as I want to a document here. So if I go to my metadata tab in the inspector, go to the keyword section right here, I can add as many keywords here as I want. So for every character that's in this chapter, I can go through, add their name. So like, there we go. Yep. See this one, Tolzeren right here. I have all the characters in this chapter here. Yeah, in this scene, listed and marked out here. Even Ned's horse, who, as you can see, died. So all those things are there. I even have like scavs. I should probably rename that. I think they're called dust reavers now. Okay. And so just like that, we have all those things pulled up directly as a keyword. I can actually pull into these keywords and see where they appear throughout the story. Now, unfortunately, this draft, we're about halfway through this draft, so most of it hasn't been done. Previously, it was all in my previous draft here. Where is it? Drafts. Actually, it's draft 5. Draft 6 is what we're working on. I forgot to change that. But you can see here, this is where most of it all is happening here in the past, right? This is a previous version of that. But let's see what we can pull up here in terms of our collections. I'm going to open up View, Show Collections. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to search as well, and I'm going to search for a specific label. Okay. So we're going to look for, let's see if we can find, there's labels. For me, labels are my viewpoint characters. Okay. So I could search up Eridan or Miro, right? And that's where Miro appears. Obviously, I have a transition name still, but Miro shows up there. Eridan shows up there, and I can see everywhere, every scene, every chapter that these characters show up. In this case, it's not much because we're partway through this draft and we're kind of rewriting it from the step by step by step rather than just having the whole thing there. And so we're going to see some scenes that aren't quite finished yet, things like that. So what's really cool about this is I can save this search as a collection. Okay, I call this the dynamic collection. I'm going to call this Eridan's character arc. Okay, and then it even matches the label. Okay, you see the color. It's Eridan's color there. And then I can pull it into my editor here by pushing this little curved arrow right there. Okay, right there. And what that does, in this case, I'm in the view is Scrivenings. So I see all of his documents from the beginning, all of his chapters, folders, everything that he's assigned to from top to bottom right here in the center. Now, this is great because I can see it all right here as well in Scrivenings view and switch around and jump around here and actually see the text be really like in the forest, like all the way into the tree, right? Or I can scale back again. I'm going to go into the corkboard view. Okay. Oh, look at that. Now I have his arc from beginning here, and I have it each scene, so I can actually plan out his arc piece by piece by piece as it develops right through the story and see how that all is looking. I could even go to the outliner view like this. I can see my total targets, my progress, the collaborator who's working on it in this case. As you can see, I'm using some custom metadata here. So if this is like custom metadata, Oliver, this is way, way beyond. Don't worry too much. If you're just at the beginning with starting with your name generator, this is kind of like way, way beyond. So if you're feeling lost, it's okay. Slow down. We can take this beat by beat. but we can create custom metadata, like have things like plot and track plot points. I could even keep track of percentages and things like that. That's just a text box is what that is. And I can, of course, remove anything I don't need here. I'm just going to have these here. Maybe I don't even need collaborator here. I just want to focus on my total target, my total progress, maybe even see my word count here. Let's do total word count so I can see how that kind of lines up. So total word, this is the word, how many words it actually is. This is the actual target I set for myself. So it was about over like 788 words. So there's a lot of different ways we can look at this and kind of see how things are playing out. If I have used plot beats, if I create a special list for plot beats, I can see all of his plot from start to finish. We have an opening image for him. This is kind of his setup. This is where his theme stated is for his story. So in this case, we're using the save the cat plotting method, but you could use any plotting method here, whatever you want. You could do the regular 3-act structure. You could do the hero's journey or the heroic journey. There's so many plot structures. Choose a structure that makes sense for you. Use it. It's scaffolding. It kind of gives you your base, right? And then you can kind of build from there. Maybe subvert and change things as needed. I don't think this is an opening image, right? It's probably a setup chapter. In fact, most of these chapters with no beats assigned, so you can see I don't have any of this thing assigned yet, is probably going to be set up. And so what's cool here is I can select this. I can right click it and change that all to, let's see here, plot beats to setup like that. And boom, it's all changes set up. And here's the catalyst, right? So I know we have some extra chapters we need to finish up here that's building up to setup, all building up towards this catalyst. This is a perfectly reasonable assumption for a beginning of a book. Some books start with the catalyst at the beginning. So you're going to have to decide what makes sense for your story. But this is a great way to see it. I'm not looking at the entire book. I'm just looking at Eridan's character arc here, this one viewpoint character. Now, if you only have one character, great. You don't have to worry about this. But if you have multiple viewpoints like me, where I'm juggling, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 different characters throughout this big epic fantasy novel, this is really a game changer. It really makes it easy for me to see what I'm doing, see which characters are being developed, which characters I'm kind of missing, and kind of find the holes, so to speak, and see what's missing. If I don't have every plot beat for each character, that makes me wonder, okay, what is missing from this character arc? I can go identify that and make sure that it gets put in, right? Or maybe if I got too much, I can scale back. So a lot of fun things you can do here. Yeah, I have gone deeper into this. Like if you're wondering how to do custom metadata, we can cover that during the Q&A and happy to do that. If you're wondering how exactly to get this set up, we can dig a little bit deeper. So just let me know. I know this one was kind of more of like, oh, this is what's possible. We didn't cover every way to do it, but if that's something you want to go deeper in, let's do it. Just let me know in the Q&A here in just a minute. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I think we're gonna wrap it up from there. Close that out. Hopefully you can see what's possible here. You can start really simple and slowly compound and go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and get deeper and deeper and deeper. But the main thing I want you to take away from this is you don't have to do it all. Start simple, start with a few things, slowly build it out, right? And make it happen. I think too often today we are in such a rush to get things done. Talk about, the introduction of AI, everyone trying to like generate things faster and faster and faster. And like sometimes I'm like, you know what? We just need to slow down a little bit. Take our time, invest. That is what results in quality material. It also gives us an opportunity to learn, to think critically, and dig deeper into what it is we're trying to accomplish. So that's my encouragement to you. Do that. Think about that. Think about how you can slow down, take your time with it, and certainly don't. Maybe if you need to, set a deadline for yourself. Say, hey, for character stuff and for all this stuff, I'm only going to spend like 2-3 days on this or a week on this, and then I'm going to jump into writing. Maybe you might flip back and forth. Just figure out a system that works for you, and the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you're writing and doing that. And I encourage you to do that in Scrivener. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I'm going to switch back. Actually, yeah, switch back over here. And we'll go from there. So every day, I'm so inspired by all of you for your passion and dedication to writing and honing your craft. I want to support you on your journey as an author, and I love watching you grow. So if you're looking for more resources and tools, I personally recommend head over to ojevensen.com/links to explore everything you need to take your writing to the next level. And if you're not already part of the Turning Writers into Authors community, close that out there. Be sure to check that out and get into that. You can subscribe to my insider newsletter. You can unlock exclusive perks like Scrivener tools, writing training, and my free Scrivener starter novel template, which you saw today. Now, don't wait. Jump into that. Get access to that. Also, check out our webinar library. We have a huge backlog of great events where we cover things and we go even, or I've gone even deeper than I did today in a lot of like custom metadata and things like that. And of course, we have another great webinar tomorrow we're going to go and jump into. Let's talk about that now. Oops. Oh, if you want to, you can use that link to subscribe. Okay. It'll be in the replay, so don't worry if you it didn't get. I'll get you links at the end. Now, of course, what's next? We have one more event that's tomorrow. I'm very excited about this. I love templates. I like taking away as much of the that grunt work as we can, so we can focus on the real creative work. So we don't have to think too much about that. So join me tomorrow, Friday, August 29th, 2025 at 1 p.m. CST, 7 p.m. UK for my webinar, Unlocking Writing Success, Mastering Scrivener Templates to Write Smarter, Faster, and Better. And I'll teach you how to leverage these templates to do just that, write smarter, faster, and better. So check that out. If you haven't registered, be sure to register for that tomorrow. Okay, now before I wrap up shop here, I just want to make sure I delivered on my promise. Are you guys ready to start creating your characters in Scrivener? Let me see if I can see this. Oh, tons of great questions. Are you there? You feeling it? Absolutely great. Great. Oh, glad to see that. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Ifya. Uh, Elizabeth. Oh, good. Great. So it's okay. I'm seeing some great questions here. Rhonda, make sure you put your question in the Q&A. I'll take a peek at that here in just a minute. We're going to dig deeper and answer some of those questions. I'm going to take a quick drink too. So if there is any areas that you still need clarification, drop those questions to the Q&A now. We'll spend the next 15 minutes or so going over those questions. Bear with me here, and we'll do just that. Let me switch over to the next slide here. So I'm going to open the floor now for questions. I'm happy to address any concerns or confusion you may have regarding Scrivener and its features, of course, and as well as provide tips and training and advice for you for your writing. So don't be shy, ask away. I can see there's already a lot of questions in there already. And if you need to reach out to us, inevitably we can't get to every question, or you think of a question after the fact, right? So if that's the case, send me an email. You can see my email address right there, contact@ogevensen.com. You can also reach out to us at Scrivener/Mac, Scrivener/-Window, Scrivener/Mobile, and scapple@literatureandlatte.com. We have a full free technical support team, happy and waiting to assist you. So please reach out to them. They will be happy to help you out. Oh, thank you, Julie. So glad you enjoyed it. Okay, so I'm going to jump into into what we've got going on here. Let me pull up my Q&A right in front of me so I have it here. If I can pop that out real quick. And there we go. So Susan says, "Wow, you moved like a jet airplane." Yes, there's so much to cover. I'm sorry. I know sometimes I go a bit fast. That's also because I'm just so excited to share what I have. But you've been with Scrivener since 2013. You love it. You're yet to learn all that it can do. I know how you feel. Can you show how to lock one screen while you work in another? Never knew you could. What is the advantage? When would you ever recommend not using it? That is a great question, Susan. Let me switch over my screen here. Let's talk about locking our editors. Okay. So right here. Now, typically, the main reason you would want to lock one of these editors is so that you don't accidentally switch to something you didn't want to as you're kind of like rummaging around and looking into your binder. And inevitably, it happens to me a lot where I clicked something and I didn't want that view to change, right? I wanted it to stay the same. So usually it's something like this. Maybe I've gone into my rescue chapter here. Maybe I just want the hero sketch pulled up here. I want to have it there. And actually, let's open up a character. I want this to stay here. I don't want it to go anywhere, right? Could could be a character sheet. You name it. Could be any number of things. Whilst I'm actually working on my scene. So what I would do is I'd right click this, click lock in place. And now no matter what I do, this one will change, but this one will not change. It's locked into place. Okay, keeps it there. This could be for a bit of research you want to have access to all the time. You know, uh, sorry. You can also have your things here in the document bookmark section, kind of off to the side in the inspector. But maybe you have that turned off, and you don't want that up there like that. You just want to have uh, an editor opened up here, and your scene to start writing in, right? Like so. Okay, that's one reason why we won't want to do that. When we close this out, one way you can get rid of this locked thing is you can click this button here. It'll actually effectively remove the editor, and it's no longer locked anymore, right? But a lot of times, I wouldn't say I ever recommend not using it. Just bear in mind that if you do use it, so let's take for example, let's go back to that here, right? I switched over here. I'm going to lock in place again. Let's say I had just this one editor open like this and it's still locked. You'll notice when I click around now, it doesn't do anything. And so some people they lock it and they forget. Like they get frustrated. Like, why is this not changing? What's going on? I've lost it. My Scrivener's not working anymore. Well, it just turns out more often than not we just forgot and it was locked. Right? You can right click that and unlock it. So that's really the only I guess disadvantage, right? Is that you could lock it and forget, right? But typically it doesn't happen very often to me anymore. I kind of got track of that. Plus you can see the little lock symbol here and that got darker. It's also worth noting, let's see here, you can, for PC users, rather than clicking on the toolbar like this, make sure you click the icon because that's where you'll find that option is clicking the icon and clicking lock or unlock. Okay, so it's a little bit different there for PC users, but that's how you would do that. Hopefully that makes sense. That's one thing I'm surprised you didn't know about, but I'm so glad that you asked me that question. I don't get asked that question very often. It's a good question, great question. Okay, so anonymous, someone is asking for the flaws slash problem aspect. Are these always internal? Can external challenges such as adverse family situation, poverty be flaws or problems, or do we need to think about that differently? That's a good question. And I don't have all the answers. Uh, anonymous, I don't, I don't know everything. But I'll say this: I think for a hero, I think a lot of the times internal is kind of important that it's an internal thing because it's a shard of glass. You can imagine it like. It's like if you had a shard of glass underneath your skin, right? You'd want to get that out because it's causing you problems. But in reality, that internal problem, right? It's the internal uh, character, problem they're having. Can what do you call it? It's what's kind of preventing them from becoming their best self. And certainly, there can be real external circumstances that are driving that flaw, right? It could be, maybe you're born in poverty and you can't, like, you're stuck there. Maybe you're a slave or something. I don't know. There's any number of external conflicts that I think can heavily contribute to an internal flaw. But I would definitely think I definitely think that the internal flaw is really, really more important than anything external going on. A lot of times, if we can, I like to believe anyway, if we can solve that internal conflict within us, we can take ourselves out of these, really difficult situations. Maybe not always. Maybe the external conflict is too large, and that is something that really needs to be solved for the character. But uh, I think in a lot of stories we see it's really, really very, very internal for that character flaw. Okay. Thank you so much for that question. That's something I'll have to ponder some more too and really think about because I had never thought about it in that way. That's why I love what you guys asking me questions because it forces me to think more and ask deeper questions and find out, like, for myself, what is that? We all learn together. So Julie is asking, how do you assign plot beats? And that is a great question. This goes into custom metadata. And so what we're going to do here, I'm actually going to use this right here. We're going to go to our metadata section here, this middle tab in the inspector. Okay, if you're wondering how to get there, that's it right there. We're going to go to custom metadata right there, open that up. You can see there's nothing there right now. So if we went back to my other project, oops, where is that? Maybe I closed it out. You'll notice already if I go to my metadata section here, it has all this custom metadata already set up. Okay, so we're going to minimize that. Let's set up a plot beats list. Okay, so we're going to come here. I'm going to add this. Click this add button right there. I'm going to kind of call it plot beats. You could call it plot points. You could call it plot. Whatever, whatever you want to use is perfectly fine here. Now you could do text and just type in the text as it comes, but I like the list because you can list out all the specific core structural beats or points that are in the structure you're using. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to come down to my list here. Beginning item. Actually, I'm going to change this real quick. I'm going to add this no plot beat assigned. I like to do that so that automatically if there's nothing assigned, it's not just none. It means that I have not assigned a plot beat yet. So I might have here opening image, right? Hit return. Theme stated. Now I've done this a lot, so I've gotten really familiar with this. Setup. We have catalyst. Let me know if I miss one like this. Catalyst. We have debate, right? Oops, I didn't spell debate right. Really easy to change. One thing to keep in mind when you're doing this, make sure you click OK and not cancel when you're done with this. If you click cancel, that hard work will be gone. Make sure you click OK. I can't tell you how many times I've accidentally hit cancel for whatever reason. And I had to redo all this. What comes after debate? We have break into two, right? Two. We have oh man, I'm forgetting now. If you guys remember, if you guys remember what they are, throw them into the chat for me so you can help me out here. Break into two. We're gonna go with I can't remember after breaking into two, so we're gonna stop there. Fun and games. Oh, thank you. I should have known that. Fun and games, of course. That's where the most of it's happening. Then we have midpoint. Okay, midpoint. Then we have after midpoint we have enemies to not enemies to lovers. That's a romance trope. Bad guys closing in, right? Bad guys closing in. And if you're interested in any of this, Jessica Brody wrote a great book on Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and it has. I mean, she wrote. I think she has two versions of it now. It really digs deep into what each of these plot beats are, how they work, how to apply them in a novel kind of setting, and yeah. So and it really digs deep into each of these things. So I highly recommend you check that book out. Great book. Really changed how I viewed structure. Made me like structure instead of hate it. We'll call this what is it? Bad guys closing in. Dark Knight. Okay, all is lost. Thank you. All is lost. I want to get these all in so you can see it. Dark Knight of the Soul. Soul. And then we had Break Into Three. Thank you. Break Into Three. And then thank you so MJ for coming. Appreciate it. I understand. And if any of you guys have to run out here, that's fine. We're gonna keep answering questions and for here a little bit longer. And yeah, well, this has all been recorded, so you can get to it later. Finale and final image. Thank you. Finale, and final image. Perfect. See, thank you guys. You guys rock. So we're gonna click OK. Boom. Okay, boom. Now, no plot beat assigned. You can see now the whole list is there. This is great. If I come to my series title here now, I'm going to go into my outliner here, open all this up. I can come here, click this little arrow, find the plot beats. Boom. You can see nothing has been assigned. So I can come here and say, okay, this is what's going on here. Like for Act 1, this might be the opening image of the book. This is definitely more of the, we're going to say midpoint. Actually, no, we're going to do, this is the midpoint. This is the fun and games and bad guys closing in. Actually, it'd be kind of a little bit of a, actually, no. If we had five, it would make more sense. This is actually more bad guys closing in. This is probably more fun and games, and the midpoint occurs inside of between Act 2A and 2B, right? And then the last would be kind of be our finale, right, where it begins and ends. And so we could look at that. And for this one, I might just have, instead of having no beats assigned, I might just have an extra one called not applicable or something like that. You could add something better than that. I'm just going to use not applicable like that. And boom, see that. For the book, I'm not concerned about it. Although we might say that book one is the opening image, right? For the series. So you still might want to assign something there and have that something there. You might want to differentiate that in a different list or something, a series plot beast list or something. I don't know. Or you could do it all the same. It's up to you. Flexible. Usually what I'll do is I'll get rid of some other things here like this and then have that available to me. And now I can go through and kind of see this unfurling here. You know, I could even go through and start assigning it for each chapter, for each character, for each scene, and have all that kind of built out into the structure of the story. I find it particularly useful when I'm looking at specific character arcs and seeing how that character arc is growing throughout the entire story. So, Julie, I hope that answers your question, and that gets you what you need to do. If you have more questions, let me know. Okay, so you asked another question. Was that list all created with keywords? So no. Previously, I think you were talking all the list that in this book here, here, this list right here was created with labels. Okay, that's how this list was created. Eridan was this is a label, Miro, and I like that because there's a color assigned to it, right? I could do a list with keywords. In fact, I do a list with keywords for like minor characters, supporting characters, and so I use those keywords that can be applied anywhere, and I could see an arc for a specific minor character if I wanted to, as well as my label viewpoint characters, right? So there's definitely some room there for keywords, and that's kind of actually in this specific draft. That's what I've been trying to do more of is try to track all my characters, my key characters, and things like that. You can see right there, and that's where I'm keeping track of each little itty bitty character and what they're doing and where they're going and etc. And I could actually make collections with this, so I could find where he appears in every scene of the story, where Darnell appears in every scene of the story, so long as his keyword has been assigned to each chapter and scene that he appears in. So it does take a little. That one takes a little bit more effort, and admittedly, I'm just kind of starting to experiment with that to see how I like it. But so far, I've liked it. For me, it makes more sense to do that after I've written the after I've written the draft of a book than trying to do it whilst I'm writing the book. But you certainly could do it as you're writing the book. Every time you write a scene, you just you look through and say, okay, what are the characters I created here, their names and everything, and assign them a keyword, and then make sure that viewpoint, whatever the case may be, is also assigned. Now, if you're writing omniscient, that's a whole different story. If you're writing, depending on the actual viewpoint of your story, that can change a lot of how you're going to approach this in Scrivener. So it really depends on what you're writing in, and how do you want to see that? How do you want to use that tool? No right or wrong way here. Let's see here. Okay. Osa is asking, how do you strike out words? I'm going to show that one really quick. Can come here. This is one thing I wish we had in our toolbar right here, easy to access. It's not right there right away. So strike through. I'm going to just search it for the help here. It's right there under font, format, font, strike through. Okay. So I can use that right here like that. Okay. You could also memorize that keyword shortcut. That's actually one bit of feedback I would say. Please, please, please put the toolbar for me because I actually use it a lot. But if you use it a lot, memorize that keyboard shortcut. It's Shift Command underscore, and then you can use that. Let me do that right now and see if it'll work. What's going on here? Bo, 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 bo. Let's close that out real quick. Yeah. Give it a second while it's backing up. I don't know why that's being like that. Close Scrivener out real quick. There we go. Yeah, let's open that back up. For some reason, the styles got stuck open. Sometimes when I'm running Zoom and everything else, things go a little funny. Okay, so that's how you would strike through characters. Yeah, let's look at that again. I'm going to come here, select this, and go Shift Command underscore, and there it is, just like that. So if you're willing to memorize that keyboard shortcut, it's really easy, or you can search help and find that every time. Okay. Okay, I'm going to. Okay, so Ed is asking if there's a webinar on collaborating. My wife and I would like to keep our Scrivener project synced. I do actually have a previous webinar on collaboration that you can look and you can pull up that in the webinar library. I don't have the specific link to it right now. If you want, you can send me an email and I can dig that up for you and find it. But it is just at literatureLatte.com/library. You should be able to scroll down and find that webinar library. One thing I'll say right now about that, Ed, is that Scrivener is kind of designed primarily as a single user application, not with collaboration in mind so much. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. There's certainly things you can do to make this more collaborative and to work with other people with it. So check that webinar out, and maybe we'll do an updated webinar on that again in the future. Okay, I think may have one more question here. Let's see. Okay, so Christopher is asking, how do you treat the attribution of scenes and chapters to more than one character? Also, regarding the graphical display of storylines and giving them colors and labels. That is an excellent question, Christoph. So, how I handle that is I use keywords and labels. So, labels, they're my viewpoints, right? It's just you could do it either way. I just like that labels are the viewpoint, and I can assign that individual label to each chapter or scene or each document or folder, right? That's how I handle viewpoint characters. And then minor characters and the like, everyone else, including viewpoint characters. Let's say a viewpoint character shows up as a supporting character in a different scene. I'm going to have a keyword for them. I might even tag on it that they're supporting in this scene in the keyword and say, hey, this character showed up here. They had, they were either in the background or they were talking or whatever else. They could still be in the scene, but they're not necessarily in the, they're not the main character in it. They're not the viewpoint character in that scene. That's how I would handle that with keywords, and I would assign those because I can assign as many keywords as I want to any document, so that we'll have a main viewpoint character as a label and a keyword for all the supporting people within it. Okay, and you don't have to limit keywords to just characters. You could use keywords for lots of different things. You can even group them together in your project panel here. You can create groups like a character group, characters, and you could add like a plot. So if you want to do plot beats like this, and that's another good example. Plots also sometimes a chapter or scene doesn't fit pretty into just like a single beat. Sometimes there's multiple beats going on there. And that's also where I'll add an extra keyword for, hey, this beat also happens here. This is a setup chapter primarily, but it also has some theme stated in it. I could for a different character or something. I don't know. Things like that where there's kind of multiple things going on. That's kind of how I hold that. It's not always perfect, but I do find that it has worked really, really well for me. Okay, great. These are great questions. Okay, well, excellent. So let's see. I'm looking in the chat now because there's a lot of great stuff here. Great session. Visit early webinars. Oh, glad you enjoyed that, Marianne. Christine says I'm working with another author on a novel. He saves it to Dropbox. We gave me access to, so I can open his novel project and work in it. That's good. Just be careful with that, Christine. If that's a Scrivener project, you don't want to open it at the same time. Make sure you have a time that he's working on it, a time that you're working on it. Make sure everything fully syncs up. Because if you bulk work on it at the same time, that could cause some product corruption and some issues, and we definitely don't want that happening. Perfect. Thank you for the session. It has made me more confident in taking the plunge to Scrivener. So glad to hear that. I'm always happy to hear to bring people into Scrivener. One thing I want you to know, whatever your current process, if you're new to Scrivener, if you're considering switching from Word or Google Docs or something else, take whatever you're doing right now in Google Docs or Word and just bring it straight into Scrivener. Just do the same thing. Don't add any extra tools. Don't do anything else. Just bring what you're doing into Scrivener and just slowly, one tool at a time, get more and more familiar with it. Keep coming to events like this. See what's possible. Slowly build up because you don't learn anything in a day, right? It takes time. And like I said, we got to kind of get rid of the FOMO. Just consider what is important to us and take our time with it. Slowly but surely, we will build our knowledge and we'll get better and better. And that's how it was with me in Scrivener. I love Scrivener now because I've spent years just slowly learning more and more and more until I've become so proficient in it that writing the book is the easy part. It's, even finishing is the easy part. It's deciding when am I done? Me getting past my own perfectionist mindset hurdles and saying, okay, this is good enough. Let's try and get this thing published. Right. Perfect. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. This has been an exciting session. Let me just switch over here real quick to our Q&A stuff. Let me drop in some links for you guys real quick so you have that. Here is the links, the link tree I have. Here is, um, where is that? The YouTube channel, so you can get access to that as well really quickly and easily. So check those out, get that done. I just want to thank you all. This has been a phenomenal session. I love all the questions. Thank you. I love it when I get questions. Makes me think more. Helps me know where you're having trouble, where you need some help. So great questions. Thank you all. It's such an honor to support you all on your writing journey, and we're such a passionate community. It's so good to see you all willing and excited to learn. So please remember our commitment to supporting your creative endeavors. It doesn't end here. Our team is always available to assist you as you harness Scrivener's full potential. So stay connected with us. Be sure to check out our upcoming webinar series, especially tomorrow, one more, for more educational and inspiring content. Until next time, write on and stay creative.